I'm standing in front of one of the tens of thousands of testing booths all across China that are closed. At the heyday of COVID-0, basically you had to take a test every day or every other day, and now overnight, China has scrapped that requirement.
For nearly 3 years, China championed a set of draconian rules to completely stamp out the virus. So its decision in early December to scrap almost all of them took many by surprise. But instead of celebrations, many cities have come to a standstill as the country is hit by a huge wave of infections.
Here's what China's reopening looks like on the ground, and why China may find it challenging to learn to live with COVID. Normally on a Friday afternoon, I could barely stand here without getting bumped by all the people walking by me. But ever since China lifted COVID-0 restrictions pretty abruptly, nobody's really going out. And that's because people are being infected.
So people are either sick at home or scared to go outside. That's because China's vaccines have lower efficacy rates compared to the West. And the vaccination rate, particularly among the elderly, is low. Nearly 3 years of mass testing and snap lockdowns meant fewer people got COVID, and natural immunity against the virus isn't high. Now, with people worried about venturing outside, businesses are taking a hit.
It's lunch hour and I'm walking around this food court. Employees are standing behind the counter, fiddling with their smartphones because there's no business.
With many customers and employees sick, people's livelihoods are at risk. That's a drag on the country's sluggish economy, which is already going through its worst downturn in more than 3 decades. But there is one exception to this: pharmacies.
There's a brisk trade in basic cough and fever medicine, although they're sold out of antigen tests, and there are a lot of empty shelves with people having cleaned them all out to take care of themselves at home, which is where most people are now dealing with their relatively mild COVID symptoms.
But if those symptoms get worse, China's health system may not be prepared. For nearly 3 years, the government has focused its resources on eradicating COVID, not living with it. So China lacks the infrastructure to cope with the tens of millions of people who may be infected. So Beijing has opened up hundreds of fever clinics to cope with the influx of new patients.
So there's been a real push to get people not to come to hospitals and not to call the emergency ambulance services unless they have very serious symptoms.
Authorities are also sending another clear message: that life needs to return to normal. So some braver residents are venturing out, as people are encouraged to go back to the gym, movie theaters, and start traveling.
There's a lot of hope here that come the spring, if the cases have washed over China, maybe we can be back to business as normal and into a new post-COVID reality.